There's something happening inside you, and you can't fully explain it. It's subtle at first, almost easy to ignore. A shift in your energy, a change in how your body feels when you wake up. Moments where you pause and think, why do I feel different? Not sick, not broken, just different. And the strangest part is, it doesn't feel random. It feels like something within you is trying to get your attention. You might notice it in quiet moments, when everything slows down and suddenly your mind becomes louder, not chaotic, just aware. You start picking up on things you used to overlook. The way certain conversations drain you now, the way certain environments feel heavier than before. Places that once felt normal now feel misaligned. People you once related to now feel distant, and your body reacts to it. Tension where there used to be comfort. Restlessness where there used to be routine. A deep, unexplainable urge to step back and reassess everything. This isn't about something being wrong with you. It's about something within you waking up. Because growth doesn't always feel like progress. Sometimes it feels like confusion, like emotional waves you didn't expect, like questioning everything you once accepted without thinking. And your body becomes part of that process. It responds to what your mind is beginning to understand. You might feel more sensitive lately, more aware of your surroundings, more affected by energy, tone, even silence. Things that never bothered you before now feel impossible to ignore. That's not weakness, that's awareness expanding. And with that awareness comes a quiet realization. You're not the same person anymore. The habits that once felt automatic now feel forced. The distractions that once entertained you now feel empty. Even your goals, they're shifting. Not because you failed, but because you're evolving. And evolution is uncomfortable. It asks you to let go of versions of yourself that once felt safe. It pushes you to question patterns you never noticed before. It challenges you to sit with yourself without distraction. That's why it feels intense sometimes. That's why your body reacts. Because deep change isn't just mental. It's physical. It's emotional. It's internal. It moves through every part of you. You might find yourself needing more space, more quiet, more time alone, not because you're isolating, but because you're recalibrating. You're learning what truly aligns with you and what doesn't anymore. And that can feel lonely. But it's also where clarity begins. Because in that space, without noise, without pressure, you start to hear yourself more clearly. Not the version shaped by expectations, not the version built on survival, but the real you, the one that's been there all along, waiting for you to notice. This is why things feel different. Not because life is falling apart, but because something within you is coming together. In a new way, in a more honest way. And yes, it can feel overwhelming. There may be moments where you wish things would just go back to how they were. But deep down, you know you can't. Because once you become aware, you can't unsee it. Once you feel the shift, you can't pretend it's not there. And maybe that's the point. Maybe this phase isn't meant to be comfortable. Maybe it's meant to wake you up, to help you see where you've been settling, where you've been ignoring your own needs, where you've been holding on to things that no longer fit who you're becoming. And your body, your mind, your emotions, they're all working together to guide you through it. Not perfectly, not instantly, but honestly. So instead of resisting it, what if you listened to it? What if you allowed yourself to slow down and actually feel what's changing? What if this discomfort isn't something to escape, but something to understand? Because growth doesn't come with clear instructions, it comes with moments like this. Moments where you feel different. And you don't fully know why yet. But you know something is shifting. And maybe that's enough. Maybe you don't need all the answers right now. Maybe all you need is the courage to trust that this change has meaning. That this version of you, the one that's becoming more aware, more honest, more aligned, is worth listening to. So don't rush it. Don't force clarity before it's ready. Just stay present with yourself. Pay attention to what your body is telling you, what your mind is processing, what your heart is slowly realizing. Because this isn't random. It's a transition. A quiet one, a personal one, but a powerful one. And if any part of this resonated with you, take a moment. Pause. Reflect on what's been changing in your life lately. Not from fear, but from awareness. And if you're on this journey of understanding yourself on a deeper level, make sure you stay connected here. Like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to Last Call for the Chosen for more content that helps you explore this path with clarity, honesty, and strength. Because you're not alone in this. And sometimes, just realizing that changes everything. And there's another part of this that most people don't talk about. It's not just what you're feeling, it's what you're starting to notice. Little things. The way you react differently now. Situations that once triggered you suddenly don't have the same power. Or the opposite. Things you used to tolerate now feel impossible to ignore. It's like your internal boundaries are rewriting themselves. Without you forcing it, without you planning it. Just naturally. And that can feel confusing. Because one day you feel strong and clear, and the next, you're questioning everything again. But that doesn't mean you're going backwards. It means you're processing. Real change isn't a straight line. It's layered. It moves in waves. Some days feel light. Some days feel heavy. Some days you feel completely aligned. And other days you feel like you've lost your direction. But look closer. Even in those uncertain moments, you're not who you used to be. You're more aware now. More honest with yourself. And that awareness changes everything. You may also notice your energy shifting around other people. You start craving deeper conversations. Real ones. Surface-level interactions begin to feel exhausting. Not because others are wrong, but because you're changing. You're no longer satisfied with just passing time. You want meaning. You want truth. You want connection that actually feels real. And that desire, it can separate you from certain spaces, from certain people, from certain versions of your life that once felt normal. And yes, that part can hurt. Because growth sometimes looks like distance. It looks like outgrowing what once felt like home. But that doesn't mean you're losing everything. It means you're making space. Space for what actually aligns with who you're becoming. And here's the part most people misunderstand. This shift isn't about becoming someone completely new. It's about returning to who you were, before the noise, before the expectations. Before you learn to shrink yourself just to fit in. That's why it feels so deep, so personal. Because it's not surface-level change, it's identity. It's you reconnecting with parts of yourself you didn't even realize you lost. And your body feels that. It responds to truth. It reacts when something is off. It settles when something feels right. So when things feel intense lately, when your emotions seem stronger, when your need for clarity feels urgent. It's not random. It's alignment trying to happen. Slowly. Naturally. In its own time. You don't have to force it. You don't have to rush to become the final version of yourself. Because there isn't one. There's only growth. There's only deeper understanding. There's only you evolving through experience. So give yourself permission to not have it all figured out, to feel uncertain sometimes, to take a step back when you need to. Because this phase you're in, it's not meant to be perfect. It's meant to be real. And real change? It takes patience. It takes honesty. It takes the courage to sit with yourself, even when it's uncomfortable. But on the other side of that discomfort, there's clarity, there's strength, there's a version of you that doesn't need to pretend anymore. So trust what you're feeling, not blindly, but thoughtfully. Pay attention to the patterns, to what drains you and what gives you energy, to what feels forced and what feels natural. Because your body already knows. Your mind is just catching up. And step by step, you're becoming more aligned with yourself than you've ever been before. Not loudly, not all at once, but quietly, in the way you think, in the way you choose, in the way you show up for your own life. And that kind of change, it doesn't need validation. It speaks for itself. And as this continues, you may start to notice something even deeper. It's not just your reactions changing. It's your priorities. What once felt urgent no longer feels important. What once felt important now feels empty. And that can be unsettling, because you begin to realize you were moving on autopilot for a long time. Following routines, meeting expectations, doing what made sense to everyone else. But now something inside you is asking different questions. Is this really me? Is this how I want to live? Why does this no longer feel right? And those questions, they don't come with instant answers. They sit with you. They follow you into quiet moments, into late nights, into those seconds where you pause and feel everything at once. This is where most people try to distract themselves. They scroll, they avoid, they fill their time just to escape the discomfort. But if you're still here, still feeling this, then a part of you isn't running anymore. A part of you is ready to face it. And that changes everything, because when you stop avoiding yourself, you start understanding yourself. You begin to see patterns, why certain things drained you for so long, why you stayed in spaces that didn't support your growth, why you ignored your own instincts, just to keep things familiar. And there's no judgment in that realization, just awareness. And awareness is powerful, because once you see clearly, you start choosing differently. Not perfectly, but intentionally. You start protecting your time, your energy, your peace. You become more selective, not out of ego, but out of respect for yourself. And yes, that might mean walking away from things. Not dramatically, not angrily, but quietly, with understanding, with acceptance, with the realization that not everything is meant to grow with you. Some things were only meant to be part of a chapter, not your entire story. And that's okay, because every step you're taking now is leading you closer to a life that actually reflects who you are, not who you were told to be, not who you had to be to survive, but who you choose to be consciously. And that's a different kind of strength. It's not loud. It doesn't need approval. It's steady. It's grounded. It's real. So if your body feels different lately, if your thoughts feel deeper, if your emotions feel stronger, don't rush to label it. Don't rush to fix it. Just listen. Because something within you is reorganizing, letting go of what no longer fits, making space for what does. And even if it feels uncertain right now, you're not lost. You're in transition. A quiet one. A meaningful one. The kind that doesn't always make sense in the moment, but becomes clear when you look back. So be patient with yourself. Give yourself room to grow, without pressure. And trust that this version of you, the one that's becoming more aware, more honest, more aligned, is not something to fear. It's something to understand. And slowly, step by step, to become. And the more you allow this process, the more you start noticing a quiet confidence forming inside you. Not the loud kind that needs to prove something, not the kind that seeks attention, but a calm, steady knowing. A sense that, even if everything around you feels uncertain, you're beginning to trust yourself in a way you never did before. You don't react as quickly, you observe more. You don't chase the same validation, you question it. And in that space, something powerful happens. You begin to separate what's truly yours from what was placed on you. Old expectations, old labels, old fears that were never even yours to carry. They start to fall away, not all at once, but piece by piece. And sometimes that feels like loss, like you're shedding parts of your life without knowing what replaces them. But look closer. You're not losing yourself. You're uncovering yourself. There's a difference. Because what's real doesn't disappear. It becomes clearer, stronger, more honest. You may also notice your tolerance for noise decreasing, not just external noise, but internal noise. Overthinking patterns, negative loops, doubts that used to control your decisions. They don't hit the same anymore. You still hear them, but you don't automatically believe them. That pause, that space between thought and reaction, that's growth. That's you gaining control in a way that isn't forced, but earned, and it changes how you move through life. You become more intentional with your words, more aware of your choices, more connected to what actually matters. Even your pace changes. You don't feel the same urgency to rush everything. You start understanding that clarity doesn't come from speed. It comes from stillness, from paying attention, from giving yourself time to process instead of pushing through blindly. And yes, the world around you may not always understand this version of you. They might see you as distant, as different, as someone who has changed. And they're right. You have, but not in a way that disconnects you from life, in a way that reconnects you to it, to what's real, to what's meaningful, to what actually aligns with who you are becoming. So if things feel slower right now, if you feel more reflective, more selective, more aware, don't mistake that for stagnation. That's alignment. That's you no longer moving just for the sake of moving. That's you choosing direction over distraction. And that shift? It's rare. Because not everyone reaches a point where they're willing to question everything. Not everyone chooses awareness over comfort. But you did, even if it was uncomfortable, even if it still is. And that says something. It says you're ready, not for perfection, but for truth. For a life that feels real, not just looks right. So keep going, not forcefully, not fearfully, but consciously. Stay connected to yourself. Check in with what you feel, what you need, what actually brings you peace, not just temporary escape. Because the more you do that, the clearer everything becomes, slowly, naturally, without pressure. And one day, you'll look back at this phase, this confusion, this intensity, this quiet transformation, and you'll realize this is where everything started to make sense. This is where you stopped living on autopilot and started living as yourself. So if you've made it this far, take a moment. Not to rush ahead, but to appreciate how far you've already come. And if this message connected with something inside you, let it stay with you. Reflect on it. Sit with it. And if you're ready to keep exploring this path of self-awareness and real growth, like this video. Share your thoughts below. I want to hear what you've been feeling lately. And subscribe to Last Call for the Chosen so you don't miss the next message that might meet you exactly where you are. Because sometimes the right words at the right moment can change the way you see everything And even after all of this, there will still be moments where you doubt it. Moments where you wonder if you're overthinking, if you're imagining the change, if maybe it would be easier to just go back to how things were. That thought will cross your mind. Because familiarity feels safe, even when it no longer fits you. But here's the truth most people quietly realize. You can return to old places, but you can't return as your old self. Something in you has already shifted. You've seen too much, felt too deeply, questioned too honestly. And that awareness doesn't disappear. It stays, guiding you even when you try to ignore it. That's why certain things feel heavier now, not because they became worse, but because you became more conscious. And once that awareness grows, it begins to reshape everything. The way you speak to yourself, the way you allow others to treat you, the way you respond when life doesn't go as planned. You start choosing understanding over reaction, growth over comfort, truth over illusion. Not perfectly, but more often than before. And those small shifts, they build something powerful over time. A life that feels more aligned, more intentional, more yours. You may not have all the answers yet. You may still feel like you're in between versions of yourself. Not who you used to be, but not fully who you're becoming either. And that in-between space, it's uncomfortable. But it's also necessary. Because that's where transformation actually happens. Not in the final result, but in the process of becoming. In the moments where you choose to stay present instead of escaping, where you choose to reflect instead of react, where you choose to grow even when it's difficult. That's where your strength is built. Quietly, consistently, without needing recognition. So don't underestimate where you are right now. Even if it feels unclear, even if it feels slow, even if it feels overwhelming at times, there is progress in this, real progress. The kind that doesn't always show on the surface, but changes everything beneath it. You're learning yourself on a deeper level. You're building awareness that most people avoid. You're creating a connection with yourself that isn't dependent on outside validation. And that kind of foundation, it lasts. It carries you through uncertainty, through change, through moments where everything else feels unstable. Because at the center of it, you're becoming someone you can rely on. And that's rare. So if your body feels different, if your mind feels deeper, if your emotions feel more intense than usual, don't rush to escape it. Stay with it just a little longer. There's something in this phase that's shaping you. Something that's preparing you, not for a perfect life, but for a more honest one, a more aware one, a more grounded one. And that's worth everything. So take your time. Breathe through the uncertainty. Trust the process, even if you don't fully understand it yet. Because you don't need to have it all figured out today. You just need to keep showing up honestly for yourself. And if you're still here, still listening, still reflecting, that already says more about your strength than you realize. So don't stop now. Stay on this path. Stay curious about yourself. Stay open to growth. And if this message found you at the right moment, make sure you stay connected. Like this video, so more people going through this can find it too. Drop a comment and share what's been shifting in your life lately. Your voice matters here. And subscribe to Last Call for the Chosen. Because this isn't just content. It's a space for people who are learning to understand themselves, one layer at a time. And sometimes that's the most important journey of all. And even beyond this point, something else begins to unfold. It's quieter than everything before, but deeper. You start to feel a kind of inner stillness you didn't have access to before. Not all the time, but in moments. Moments where nothing external has changed. Yet something inside you feels settled. You're no longer reacting to every thought. You're no longer pulled in every direction. There's space now. Space to think. Space to feel. Space to choose. And in that space, you begin to notice something powerful. You don't need to have control over everything to feel okay. That realization alone shifts everything. Because so much of the pressure you used to carry came from trying to manage every outcome, every reaction, every possibility. But now you're starting to understand. Peace doesn't come from control. It comes from alignment, from knowing that even if things don't go exactly how you planned, you won't lose yourself in the process. And that changes how you move. You become less reactive and more responsive, less driven by urgency and more guided by clarity. You begin to trust your timing, not in a blind way, but in a grounded, steady way. You stop comparing your journey to everyone else's, because deep down, you can feel it. You're not behind. You're just moving at a pace that actually allows you to grow. And that's something most people never give themselves. You might also notice you're becoming more comfortable with silence. Not just external silence, but internal quiet. The kind where you don't feel the need to fill every moment with noise, or distraction, or constant input. You can sit with yourself without needing to escape. And in today's world, that's rare, because most people are running from their own thoughts. But you're starting to face them, understand them, and slowly you're learning which ones deserve your attention and which ones don't. That awareness becomes your filter. It protects your energy. It sharpens your focus. It helps you stay grounded even when things around you feel chaotic. And here's the part that matters most. This version of you that's forming right now, it's not fragile. It might feel uncertain at times, it might still be finding its footing, but it's real, and real things grow stronger over time. So don't rush to arrive somewhere. There's no final destination where everything suddenly makes perfect sense. There's only deeper understanding, layer by layer, moment by moment, choice by choice, and you're already in it, right now. Even if it doesn't feel complete, even if it still feels like a process, because it is. And that's not a weakness. That's life, unfolding honestly. So if you've been feeling this quiet shift, this internal change you can't fully explain, you're not imagining it. You're experiencing yourself more clearly. And that clarity, it changes how you see everything. So keep going, stay patient, stay aware, stay connected to what feels true for you, even if it doesn't make sense to anyone else yet. Because the more you trust that, the more everything begins to align in its own time. And if you've been following along this entire message, take a second right now, not to rush forward, but to recognize this moment. Because something inside you heard this for a reason. And maybe this is the point where things start to feel just a little more clear. If that's the case, stay with it and stay connected. Like this video if it spoke to you. Share your experience in the comments. Someone else might need to hear it. And subscribe to Last Call for the Chosen. Because this journey you're on, it's not about becoming someone else. It's about finally understanding who you've been all along. And even as you begin to understand yourself more, there's one final layer that reveals itself over time. It's subtle, but undeniable. You stop trying to explain yourself to everyone. Not out of distance, not out of ego, but because you realize not everyone is meant to understand your journey at the same depth. And that's okay. You no longer feel the need to justify your growth, to prove why you've changed, to convince others that what you're feeling is real, because for the first time, it's real to you. And that's enough. There's a quiet freedom in that. A release from constantly needing validation. From waiting for approval before trusting your own direction. You start to move differently. More grounded. More certain. Even if things are still unfolding. And here's what's interesting. The more you accept yourself, the less you feel the need to force anything. You don't chase connections that don't flow. You don't hold on to spaces that drain you. You don't shrink yourself just to stay comfortable. You begin to let things be what they are. And that brings peace. Not perfect peace, but a real one. The kind that isn't dependent on everything going right, but comes from knowing you'll be okay either way. And that's where your strength truly settles. Not in becoming someone else, but in finally standing as yourself, without resistance, without pretending, without constantly questioning your own worth. Because deep down, after everything you've felt, everything you've processed, you start to see it clearly. You were never too much. You were never too different. You were never out of place. You were just becoming. And becoming takes time. It takes discomfort. It takes reflection. It takes moments like the ones you've been going through, where nothing makes complete sense, but everything is quietly shifting. And now, you're here. More aware, more connected, more honest with yourself than you've ever been before. That doesn't mean the journey is over. It just means you've reached a point where you no longer run from it. You walk through it. With patience, with understanding, with a kind of calm strength that doesn't need to be loud to be powerful. So as you move forward from this moment, don't look for a dramatic sign. Don't wait for everything to suddenly feel perfect. Just notice the small changes, the way you think differently, the way you choose differently, the way you respond to life with more awareness than before. Because those small shifts, they're everything. They're the proof that something real is happening within you. And it's not temporary. It's becoming part of who you are. So trust that, even on the days it feels unclear, even on the days you feel like you've taken a step back, you haven't. You're just moving through another layer. And that's part of it. Always has been, always will be. So take one last breath with me in this moment, not to escape, but to arrive, right here, as you are. Still growing, still learning, still becoming. And that is more than enough. If this message stayed with you till the end, then you already know this isn't just something you watch and forget. It's something you feel. So don't ignore that. Let it guide you, gently. And if you're ready to keep walking this path with clarity and strength, like this video. Share what you've been experiencing. Your story might help someone else feel less alone. And subscribe to Last Call for the Chosen. Because this space, it's for those who are no longer asleep in their own lives. It's for those who are learning to see, to feel, to understand, and most importantly, to become.